Hey, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today I'm on location in Livonia, Michigan, talking to a couple of former members of a band that started in the late 70s and unfortunately ended around 1982. The band is a punk rock band called Bad Habit, and the members I have today are the bassist, Mr. John Isom, and the drummer, actually the second drummer, and we'll talk about that as we go on, Mr. Danny Smith. Anyway, let's start with you, John, because you're an original member. How did the band start as far as that?
How the band kind of like morphed into itself. Okay. Me and Glenn were in a cover band back, and then we were called, like every other band, I think one time we were called the Warlords. And we were doing cover songs and things. I wasn't going too well. I even had a girlfriend fronting the band, and we were just popping around doing, parties and, off nights at some clubs. And then our friend Vic Doware was moving up. We weren't going anywhere with this band, so.
Yeah, what band was that? What was your name for it?
The Warlords.
Oh, Warlords. Okay, you did mention that.
Yeah. And then he came up and, I don't explain it as well as the other guys could, but somehow we got into playing together.
Right.
We had known each other since junior high school.
What schools did you go to? Because I could say Livonia.
Yeah.
I know you guys are both in Livonia.
The junior high was Emerson, and we went to Livonia Franklin.
Franklin. Okay.
We had already moved down to Cincinnati that time. And there's a backstory on that where I also went to, both of me and him went to college down there. When I went down there, I went right out of high school and went down. I didn't know a soul. And then a friend of ours recommended that, hey, remember Vic Dow here? Do you want to go and should check him out since he's down here? Yeah, man, I didn't know him that well.
Right.
I could knock on the door. Him and his family were kind enough to say, hey, come on by. He was like cross town. It was kind of an adventure just to get. I was up north. He was down in the southeast corner. We would just try to hang out and whatever. And one of the things we were, because he was really into music, mostly all since I'd known him and everything. And I was kind of like interested when I played music in high school and band and shit.
Right.
I said, yeah, I'd like to learn, and play bass, since he played guitar. Because I tried playing guitar, but I hit the damn strings so hard that I'd knock it out of tune all night. So I had this old Yamaha folk guitar, and what we did, I'd take off the top two strings and we used the bottom four, and that was my bass. And he had this little one of those old school record players.
Yeah.
He converted into an amp, and I think it had two channels, and we took one of those little four realistic microphones, and we drop it in the hollow body. He would teach me how to play like Ted Nugent and Ramones and shit.
Right.
And that's how it kind of took off. He played me, but then I moved back up Detroit, and he was down there. And so when we joined, I had me and Glenn playing, and we had our original drummer, Terry Nalian, also was in that band. He wasn't doing anything. It was the other players. It was like, eh. And then when Vic finally did move back up to Detroit, we had gotten together, and that's where, he would like introduced us to the punk rock movement and with other songs and whatever, other songs, other bands, and it would influence like that. And they're a lot easier to play too. It's like, here we go play Rush, or do you want to learn how to play the Pistols? And, oh, okay, that wasn't too hard. So, and then that's how it kind of morphed out from there. Started doing it and, writing our own material and going out there.
Yeah, you're the main writer, weren't you? Or was Victor?
It was always a collaboration.
Okay.
I don't like, that's how I did all this, which everybody knows is true, but no, I'm just teasing. No, everybody collaborates in their own, it's all way. That's one of the things that always broke up. It wasn't a point where we were trying to get points on the album and everything.
Right, sure.
Were paying the rent. We all contributed to make our Bad Habits sound.
Now, as far as the songwriting, like you said, you all kind of wrote together and all that. Mm-hmm. Being punk, were you trying to strictly on punk themes? In other words, a lot of punk music back in the day, and still to this day, are more or less protest type stuff. Were you writing that, or were you writing punk love songs? What kind of punk songs were you writing?
We had a couple, I said we were anti-establishment songs. And we had one that was like, the only good politician is a dead politician, or we used to
political men.
Right.
So now we wanted to write, songs. We didn't have no agenda that we were trying to follow. So we just wanted to get up there and play rock and roll. And of course, this is the easiest way to do it at the time. Sure.
Right. Now, you had mentioned the Ramones. What were some of the bands that you guys would have been covering as far as starting out? you were doing cover songs along with your originals,
No,
weren't you?
it was all original.
By that time, you were doing any covers.
Yeah, if we did, maybe I know we did a Tom Petty song. You know, I Need to Know, something like that.
Well, yeah, that's real punk.
Yeah, that was
BC.
Yeah, before
B. Danny.
Before BD. Before
I was going
Dan.
to say, that's a real punk song. I
Yeah,
would have
no,
expected
well,
you to
no,
say
yeah.
something to Dictators or
No,
the
no,
Dams.
no, we didn't. No,
Right.
what we did, we would do some dolls, right? We would do.
Yeah, or Johnny Thunders.
Right,
Stuff
okay.
like that.
Chinese Rocks? Did you do that whenever?
We could do.
Get
we
off
used to
the
do-
phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
we used to do some Dead Boy songs. We used to do like Sonic Reducer.
Okay.
But we did just as good or better than damn Dead Boys in our opinion. Because they were, as I always like, we were more of a Dead Boys kind of band than the Pistols.
Yeah.
Because them being American Midwest type of thing, they were a rock band when they started out. The way they were mixed and I mean their approach to writing material was like us in a sense. And they were really rockers.
I see.
That's what we wanted. We wanted to be Gene, Paul, Ace, and Peter, man, in the worst way.
You wanted to be kind of like the punk Kiss.
Yeah, well, no, we didn't want to be like. We just admired what they achieved.
Right,
What
okay.
they did, we didn't want to emulate them. It's just like, wow, look at that level and what they were doing at the time. It was something to shoot for. Definitely.
Okay, I get you.
It's before it started, too.
Right, yeah.
You're young punks. Clue about what's going on in the music business.
Yeah, but were you young punks, or were you just trying to emulate that style with your music because, like you said, it was simpler to play?
Our music was, we didn't go like, I guess, what would you call it, say, the punk movement. We didn't walk around the streets and
Right,
gangs.
right.
Yeah,
We hung out at the clubs and watched other bands.
Right.
Or we were rehearsing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
Right. It was just basically a style of music
It
that
was a
you
style
liked.
of music,
Yeah,
that's all
that's
it
it.
was. You know what I mean?
Right, of course.
Not that we were against, we just did our own thing.
Yeah,
That was our approach to it.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's got to be your approach.
Like the Stooges or MC5, seeing they had their,
Yeah, well, of
There
course.
you go.
But of course, they were more socially and politically minded and stuff.
Yeah,
But whatever. But that was their thing. Yeah.
Their time too.
Okay, John, let's get into the fact that Danny's not the original drummer. You had
Yeah.
some other guy that was playing with you. How long did he play with you, and what caused him to leave the band?
I'm not sure what the timeline, but he was with us for about a year. His name was Terry Nalian, really big guy. But this guy was just an ape on the drums. He could literally pound the drum so hard he would put it through the snare. Didn't have to mic this guy. But the pressures of actually just going out and playing, this guy just couldn't handle it. It affected him. He'd get confrontational with roadies and other bands and band members and stuff.
So he did go out and play with you guys for a while.
Yeah,
Okay.
we played. Yeah, we did. I remember we played we almost got in the fight with the Mutants, and he wanted to take down one of their road man.
There wasn't a whole lot of shows, though, you guys did.
Yeah,
You didn't
no,
like...
Plain Brown Rapper.
Yeah,
and-
few. Because I used to watch you guys.
Yeah.
And we were all friends.
Right,
so-
right.
And he could really beat the hell out of the drum. Really could.
So was it his choice then?
he was-
Basically, he just didn't feel he wanted to do it?
He just couldn't do it anymore. He
Okay.
was a real nice guy and everything, but it just
Yeah,
ran
it
its
just
course.
didn't work out.
Didn't
Yeah.
want to do it. He wanted to do something else. So that's cool. We
Right.
didn't hate him or anything.
Band members come and go all the time.
Yeah.
It's just part of the game. Now, tell me a little bit about, I mean, I know you know Danny because you guys all went to school together. He wasn't playing drums at the time.
No.
What made you decide to get Danny and say, hey, we need a drummer, get some damn drums, you're going to be our drummer? What made you do that? Was it his
Wasn't
attitude?
I didn't want him in the band.
There you go. I was
sucked.
going to
He
say,
sucked, man.
this is a good story for Glenn and Victor.
Yeah,
But they're not here.
But let Danny tell you how he did it.
No, it's a good thing that you said that. It was one of those things. I just started playing. Victor and Glenn gave me a tape that they had did, like song demo.
Right, demo, yeah.
Actually, I didn't even have a drum set at the time.
Yeah.
We were up north at Glenn's cottage, I think it was. We were up there screwing around. I got back. I went to Billy Cairo, Mountain Beach, bought a drum kit from him. I got the tape from them with 3 or 4 songs. I sat down there for a week, learned songs. Glenn and Victor, John was never involved with the
Right.
thing. I went over there. He goes, okay, let's go over to rehearsal. We went over the rehearsal stuff. I wasn't the guy that John was expecting to get after
the
Terry.
ball, yeah.
But anyways, he got over it, and we ended up doing it.
Danny came over and they just said, here he is. And said, why you bring this dumb fuck over? I don't want to see this guy. He doesn't know how to play. I mean, I had this guy, you didn't have to mic. He was jazz trained. This guy could fucking play.
Right.
And here's a guy, he just learned the set list in a week. I was like, no way, man. Just dumbbell out of here. But, the thing is, you had to admire his grit. Admire, his conviction to it. And he learned the material. And that was it.
But I mean, you're talking about you had to learn material, but you weren't learning all the licks that this drummer you're talking about.
Terry had licks.
Yeah, you were more or less trying to stay in the pocket and keep the thing.
I'm playing for the song.
Exactly.
And that's what we needed, like a Charlie Watts, and we needed a pocket drummer. Nothing, no flashy cat out there playing.
Now, how soon after you were in the band, you learned the first set or whatever, did you guys actually get together and say, all right, let's go out and play a gig with this, as you call them, dumbbell?
Dumbbell.
It wasn't that long. I don't know.
2 weeks.
Was it 2 weeks? All right, well, 2 weeks.
What was that gig?
Nunzio.
No,
that was a Nunzio.
No, it was at that joint out on Orchard Lake Road, like out there. It was a new club in a strip mall. Huge, gigantic joint, remember?
Oh, yeah. It was like around 14 and
yeah. It was gigantic. It was like a disco or something before. Then they made it into a rock club.
Now, you guys playing this gig with several other bands, I take it? You weren't like the headline act at that time, right?
We just played with Nicky and the Corvettes, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think there was nobody else. I think that was it. We did not quite a bit, but we did a decent amount of shows with them. It just lined up.
Yeah.
That's how we were,
Did you in any way have, as far as getting these gigs, did you have any representation? Did you have somebody manage it? Or did Victor Glenn or you get the gigs?
Mostly Victor had was the point guy for Bad Habit. He had the gift of getting into getting this book.
Kind of already know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. You make any money at any of these shows in those days?
Oh, yeah. We all had big bank accounts. In fact, we remember we gave all that money away at the time. Yeah, that's how we did. We gave it all away.
From what I remember those days, you were lucky to get paid anything because it was all the door, and if they liked you enough, they might flip you $50 or give you a couple drinks.
That would be a good day.
That would be a good day because you get the exposure.
Yeah, that was you're getting exposure.
Yeah,
and you're playing.
Yeah, and you're playing. You're doing something you love.
I'd rather play out at a bar than upstairs in a loft rehearsing or practicing any day.
That's the other part of the story, where you rehearsed. Where was this again? Because you told me about it prior that it was in some loft. Was that a band house or what?
It was my house. And I say my house. It was my family's house. My mother had a cousin who owned a house on Chopin and McGraw, and it was one of those nice 1920 big old barns that they had, one after the other.
Yeah.
Where all the workers, the old Polacks, would go and work at Chrysler,
Yeah.
McGraw Burlesque. But what was really nice about it, it was big, and it had this giant room upstairs. It was like a two family, but upstairs it was just one big room. And what we did, like to soundproof it, is we found this really garbage picked this yellow shag carpet. I think we knew somebody was in the biz and they did a remod. And we dragged all this musty ass shit over to the house and we nailed it on floors, walls, and it did a damn good job of soundproof.
Did it stink though? I mean,
Oh, that wasn't. It was just nasty. It wasn't like we would have cared anyway.
it wasn't cat piss all over it and shit.
But it was just. But it was heavy.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm sure it would have been if it was shag back in those days.
Yeah, we had it all over, and it actually worked as a sound deadener pretty well for a neighborhood that close.
I mean, did you actually was there windows up there that you
Yeah,
blocked off that too?
Just one window.
Oh, one window?
Yeah. We had, you just blocked that off, tough and whatever, and opened up to air it out.
As far as playing up there in an attic or loft, whatever you want to call it, and you've got the shag carpet on the floor and on the walls, maybe even on the ceiling. I don't know. Like you say, deaden the sound. Was it hot as hell up there?
Oh, yeah.
We had a cool space heater up there. It was like one of those for cabins over the winter time. It was toasty. And it was set because the chimney was like right in the middle. And all you had to get was some garbage pick, a flex pipe, and put it in the hole that was already there.
Right.
And we were set. Yeah, we had it set up pretty nice at one time. I remember when the Bookies did their remodel, when they used big, giant, black Naugahyde booths around it. They took them out. They wanted, for more floor space. We grabbed them, as many as we could put in the equipment van, and we dragged them over, and we had them set up upstairs.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, for a short while, and then after, but it was a bear getting it up. Oh, because it was a back, it was like an old school staircase. It was like 45 degrees halfway up, then another 45 degrees.
Oh, really?
And so you had to make the bend, and these were tall, so you had to like lift them over. We were young, dumb, and full of cum doing that.
No doubt about it. I mean, think about it, how many gigs we did.
Yeah, I was
Just
gonna
tons
say.
of gigs.
Yeah.
Bringing the gear downstairs.
And
It was like nothing. Me and John are the ones basically doing it, and a couple of roadies,
Yeah.
because Glenn and Victor were nowhere to be found. And they didn't have carry-on, 50-watt amp. They had
Really?
stacks.
Yeah, we had
Marshall.
They had stacks, and you had to
Yeah.
move all that.
Yeah.
And you had all that up in the loft.
Yeah, and we bring it all down.
And you mentioned roadies. Are these just like buddies of yours?
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
school and all that would help you out
Yeah, right.
for
They come
beer or
over
whatever?
there. They probably made up better than the band. Booze, broads, whatever.
As far as being up in the loft, obviously rehearsing there, was there a certain time of day you would normally do this? You get in the sound, and
Yeah,
was it usually at night or
Yeah,
in the afternoon?
It was like dinner time till about 7 or 8 o'clock. And the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we rehearsed about almost every
Every
night.
day.
You guys didn't have day jobs?
Glenn had a day
Yeah.
job.
Me and Victor used to.
Yeah.
Another guy will be up later on in one of our.
Yeah.
We took over his lawn cuttings.
Okay.
And I think that might last 2 months. We destroyed it. He was so pissed. So yeah, me and Victor kind of didn't have jobs. John had a job. Glenn had a job. Whenever you get
Yeah.
one. But Glenn had a serious 9 to 5, 8 to whatever job.
But you guys basically would have jobs just to make enough money to,
Oh, yeah. And
to
we,
do
you
that.
know, remember, it was the Carter administration.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a $5 an hour job,
That was
Yeah.
decent money back then, of
back then.
course.
So, I mean, I lived in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember my job. I was at a plastic bag company, made trash, and I would drive up to Plymouth and Levant.
Right.
Yeah, every day from Detroit, at $1.50 a week.
Well, gas was also really cheap
Yeah, it
back
didn't
then,
matter.
too.
It was $1.50 a week, and then
Now-
take rent.
All right. As far as that house, you say it was whose house? It was your house.
My mother's cousin's house, and he was just happy to have somebody to live.
So who all was living in it?
First, it was like me and my girlfriend.
Right.
We'd get married, but that never, thank God, never happened. And then I know Victor snailed his way in, and he was in there for a while. Jeff lived there. One of our roadies lived there for a while in the front room.
You ever move in?
Nope, I never moved in. But there was another band house. Me, Glenn, Victor, Arlen, a good buddy of ours, stayed in. We had another roadie. He ended up moving in later.
Right.
That was over off Burt Road and
Brightmore?
yeah, Brightmore Schoolcraft and Albert Drive right
yeah,
there.
I lived in
Pearson.
Brightmore,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we had a house there, and we'd leave out of there and then go to John's to rehearse. That's how that. And then when it happened, the house, we couldn't pay rent no more and all that crap. That's when they snailed in over there. Over to John's. Glenn booked back home. I think I could still go back to my parents' house too, so that we went.
How
there.
old would you have been
And then we
around this?
moved in with John.
How old would you have been around this time then?
20,
20?
20, yeah.
So,
something like that, yeah.
because you mentioned you went to college.
Yeah.
in Cincinnati and came back.
Yeah, but didn't stay too long.
So you didn't go into that field at all?
Well, no, it was a year course. That's all I could afford.
Let's get into a little bit about where you guys played. You mentioned where you played that first gig. What were some of the popular places at that time that you guys would play? I'm assuming, based in Livonia, you probably played the Token, Studio Lounge. What other places did you
Not
play?
so, really not back when Bad Habit was together. It wasn't Token Lounge, Studio Lounge. They were all cover bands.
I
So we
forgot
were
about
an East
that.
Side pretty much band. Carpet, Nuncios down in Lincoln, Main Act, and then it turned into the Ritz.
Right.
Tracks, Lilies, Paycheck.
So you played basically
Bowery.
East Side, all the scenes
Yeah.
of that thing.
Whole circuit.
And you said, who was it? You said was it Victor? You said it was
Victor
the
was-
main man
yeah,
as
he
far
was
as
the guy.
that.
He had the gift to get us in. So hey, that's where you put all your eggs into that guy because he knew how to talk it up.
Of course, back in those days, everything was flyers.
Oh,
flyers.
God.
Yeah.
So you probably did a lot of that. Were you ever interviewed for like a couple magazines out to Jam Rag?
Yeah,
there was
Jam-
a
Yeah,
Metro
we're in the
time.
Jam Rag.
Metro.
Real Detroit.
Yeah, what was that? Entertainment One. Oh, we did before Danny. We actually did a interview with in Ann Arbor, and we did a live performance, and they're one of their cable stations.
Oh, for local cable type show?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was cool. I mean, we had a little bit of management then. That's when we had Carnell Newman represent us for a couple of minutes, and we were up there. But the thing was something. It was really cool because it was on the cable thing, and they did this. They filmed the band. You know, we've got pictures of us in the studio, and we look like a bunch of kids. You know, it's really
Well, you were in your 20s.
yeah,
You were
but
kids.
still, it's almost embarrassing. But they filmed it. You know, these are like probably all film students. They're doing high contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I look like
Weird
I used to wear
effects.
little glasses. They used to do the high. I look like one of those that John Lennon poster. That all going on, and it's like, wow, did you guys like this video? I said, yeah, cool. It's $35. Yeah, we didn't have $35, and so guess what? It's gone.
You just assume you would.
I guess I don't know. It was offered to us. We could have had it on probably some giant VHS.
Yeah, it would all been
Yeah,
VHS at the
but,
time.
you know, we didn't have the money. We had money to get the band out there, probably.
I mean, you had mentioned earlier that they had given you a demo tape to learn these songs.
Right.
I mean, other than the gift gab that you said Victor had, did he use this demo tape, or did you make another demo tape that he was shopping around to some of these bars, or by that time you were just in the door?
Yeah, we were probably, I'm not trying to say, like, we could get it just with our name alone. We didn't
Right.
have to show them our demo and what we're doing. We were kind of known of what we could offer and who we could pull in and not pull in, and we took it from there.
What kind of draw did you have back then? Because the punk scene was really happening at that time. It had really started to flourish. There were a lot of new wave punk bands that were coming out. How did you fare as far as that? How did you, a lot of these fans there again, friends from school, or did you build up another fan
It
base?
was gained momentum.
Yeah.
It did well. We didn't do as well as other bands, but we were just right in the middle. But we were starting to gain traction. The band was starting to draw attention with material because we actually would go out of the Metro Detroit. We would play in different cities. A lot of other bands just like being the big fish in the small. I mean, yeah, we're playing Florida and like I say, London, Ontario.
How did you afford to travel Florida and London, but you didn't have $35 to pay these guys for a potential?
Yeah, he
And
said,
another thing about that too, that back in the day, it was a thing with everybody wanted to get their press kit out, big press. And it's like John said, where are we going to get this money? You got to have a nice photo, you got to
Yeah.
have something printed up, you got to pass them out to all these agents
Right.
that you want. We had our own agent.
Didn't need to do that. is what
And
you're
we
saying.
couldn't even if we wanted.
Well, you would have had to bankroll it yourself
Yeah,
out of
exactly,
personal
right.
funds, and
Yeah.
that would have been kind of rough.
You're saying, getting back to how we bankrolled it. I mean, we still had some job. We had some money.
I mean,
Right.
we did have to get back forth for rehearsals.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that type of thing. But so if it was worth it, I mean, I had when we played in London, it was keep your job. I couldn't get the time off, or play in London for 3 days. Guess what?
You're young.
Yeah.
You're gonna live forever.
Yeah.
I can get another job.
Fuck
Not only
I'm gonna
that,
be a
but
rock star.
I remember this very good too.
Vividly, yeah.
He's down there. I remember the call. He's calling in sick on the main road in London, Ontario.
Right. So you already committed to it. You
He's
were-
already in. It's
Yeah.
he can't even. Okay, I'll be in a couple hours.
Right, right.
He's done.
You're gone.
Yeah.
I can't make it.
But that's what we did.
Yeah.
It's like, do you spend your $50 that you made at the bar the night before on food that you need, or do you buy a press kit that you might need, but gotta survive first?
Right.
We'd get like a Wendy's and they had the salad bar. Buy one salad bar and you pass the
Yeah, yeah.
and everybody ate off of it once.
Right.
I mean, that's our horror. I'm sure there's bands out there that have way better horror stories than that.
As far as band having, you're talking about going to Florida, Canada, and all that. Did you have a van or a
Oh,
truck?
yeah.
How did you
Ultravan.
do it?
1967 Ford cat-eyed flat nose Econoline,
Oh, okay.
stretch version.
Yeah.
And one of the things was nice about it had a 170 straight six, but it had the automatic. I mean, we went everywhere. When we recorded in New
That was a
York,
great band.
it was great. I mean, all the gear, 5 guys in this van with a 170 engine.
Yeah,
Going
I
to
was
New York.
gonna say.
When we recorded, it was Skyline Studios on
Yeah.
West 36,
Yeah.
right? Drove around like we were in downtown Detroit. Oh, Parker, we're going down like the avenues of
Right.
America the wrong way. It's one way. Everyone upon the cars are just coming. I just, of course, being in love, I'm driving down. We need a jump in Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
To get the van to start. We get a jump. Can you imagine trying to, with your cables hanging out? But it was stupid me. I gave the good battery to my girlfriend in the other car. So
Did you guys have girlfriends at that
He
time?
did.
yeah.
How did she feel about you just up and quitting your job and going to London,
Yeah, she did,
Canada?
because she's always fucked up anyway. So.
weren't making much money playing these gigs.
Yeah.
You're doing it play. Were you guys actually living and sleeping in the van too?
We did some overnights,
Yeah.
but you know, it wasn't very often.
Cincinnati spent all night. Even in one of his songs he wrote, John did.
Stayed all night, what, in the van or out
Yeah.
the park? Right.
Well, and picnic table next to the van.
Oh, okay,
The
yeah.
van was too uncomfortable, so you go outside.
Yeah, sure. I
Catch
get
some
it.
more that nice Cincinnati,
River
middle
water.
of the July.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Weather.
that's fine if it's in the summer, but if you're out there in the winter, you're not going to go
Yeah.
sleeping on a park
Yeah,
bench.
right.
No.
You know, that would make it a little. As for cleanliness, did you guys like ever pull into like one of those drive-through kind of fucking car washes and hose each other?
No,
Not that deep.
not that deep.
I don't mean naked. I'm not
Yeah,
saying that, but
No,
yeah.
yeah, that van. I mean, when we were done being in New York, we brought on one of our best friends in the whole world, Sirius Trixon, was one of our mates that went up with us. He found out we were going out there. He was like a cat. Jumped in the van with us. Got to New York. Opened the door. He was out. Didn't see him for 3 days.
Till time to come home.
Time to come up, and he was back. But God bless that he went with us because we had the van, and it's like, you know, I did the driving because I knew the van.
You guys didn't take turns your dog driving?
I did all of it.
Oh man.
He
I
did
drove a
stuff.
little.
He did
Right.
drive. But it was, you know, those vans, they were straight at primitive, right?
Right.
So we're coming back we're going back to Detroit from New York, and we're getting, you know, we're starting to hit Pennsylvania. It's starting to, dude, you know, it's kind of a snowstorm. Boom, boom, boom. We should. No, fuck that. Let's go.
Let's keep
We're
going.
going, right?
Right.
So anyway, we're driving, and I drove through that snowstorm with Trixon telling me every rock and roll horror story I went through to keep me up through the whole thing, through the snowstorm. It was at 80, it was a split highway. One would be up, one you look at, and you could just see cars backed up for miles and miles. And here I'm like this, driving like Trixon, blah, 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 and just going story after story to keep me awake.
Yeah, yeah.
By the time we hit about the end of the Ohio Turnpike, I was zombie. I
Done.
said, Danny, you gotta drive. You know, they're all sleeping in the back. I had some rigged up heater. They're all like this. The guitar necks are starting to turn into S's. You know, it was that thing was the best because it made it ever. There, it was really that was hate. You know, love to find another one.
Now, did you have any, as far as traveling like that and in this band, did you have anything as far as artwork on the band that, you know, the name of the band or anything like that? I mean, you couldn't afford that either.
Oh, you want art? Yeah, come on and steal this. You know, yeah. There was a band van. At one point, it was in like an off-white rolled paint job with blue doors.
Did you own the band then? Was it your property?
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things. I bought it for $100. Found a motor for it. I popped it in.
Isn't that amazing? Back then, you could get a vehicle like that for $100, pop an engine in, and get it to travel like that and do all that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really something. It was, and the thing is that it had a 170. These things,
Right.
top speed on a good day is like 60, 65. It was the last year of that model, and it was an extended, stretched out into like 2 foot.
Yeah.
That's it. That was just enough to put all the drums, amps, 5 guys.
Few assortments of clothes, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
We're
whatever.
lucky, right.
If you're lucky and
Yeah.
stuff. What about national acts? Did Bad Habit open or play with any national acts along the road as far as their career, whether it be in Detroit or wherever you have played?
Well, we did the Johnny Thunders, Cheetah Chrome, you know, the Heartbreakers. That was Thunders and Nolan. And
You actually played
yeah,
with
the
John.
Silverberg. Yeah, we did.
Tell me the story about how you hooked up and got to play with Angel City.
They heard our demo and they thought we were the next coming.
Again, back to Victor on that one. And John had in whenever he went. Him and Glenn and John go to the show, see Angel City.
At Bookies.
Bookies,
I
okay.
mean, they bring the whole concert type setup there. They got the big amps, everything, and playing in a club. You know, it was like, Jesus, okay. And then it was,
You three, and then
yeah, that's 3. But then Victor was talking with
To the manager.
to the road manager,
Yeah.
and everything. And because me and him went to college down in Cincinnati,
Right.
and he was talking to him and stuff. He said, "Well, when Victor asked him off the cuff, because he probably knew who was going to be your warm up act in Cincinnati, and we all knew from going to other shows down there, the guy that plugged in was a magician. They didn't even have a band to come in, a local band to come in that did originals in Cincinnati. A magician would come by. You go to a rock bar, and you would see a magician perform before the act. And I'm sure I might be corrected. I'm just kind of condensing it. It was
45 years ago.
yeah. They would say, guys we'll come down there. You just pay for like gas in a hotel room, back you up, we'll play, we'll hook up with you guys.
Right.
We were nationally in the got some local adults there, you know. We do a drag race with the Vic's car. He runs it through the main gate at the McGraw. Glass plank is thrown in jail. You think gonna happen with this, right? And then we get a call around noon the next day, and it says, if you guys want the show, be down here by 6 o'clock. It's 6 hours.
That day, too.
That
It wasn't
day.
the next day. It was
Two
that day.
shows.
Two shows.
They were doing
shows.
2 shows that day.
We all like, so we're all scrambling like hell. Get everybody in the van. Get in the van now, you know.
After the big wreck, too.
Right.
This right, yeah.
I mean, Arlen, our poor roadie, he lost, what, a tie rod or the front end? The whole tire came in the front seat, like creamed his leg.
We gotta hustle. We gotta get it all on there. We load up. We're trying to get our asses down. We even get pulled over halfway down because they think we're drunk because it's all the weights in the ass.
Right, yeah.
And we're going at 60 and the thing's swaying around like a motorboat. We get down there. We've missed the first opening. There's no opening exit. They just go on first, right? We pull up, walk in, and it'll give all the credit to Vic out here. So we walk up to the front gate. We're ready to go in. Hey, we're in the band. You guys missed it, man. You can't get, you're not going to play. And he somehow just said, well, fuck you. We're playing.
question at this point in time is
They said, okay. They opened the door, and now they opened up the doors. I mean, it's packed. It was like, what, 3,500?
Yeah, or more.
More.
It's
It
like-
was great. We walked right down the center, pulling our fucking gear like we're playing, you know, in some club in Detroit. Walk right to the getting ready to set up, you know, and everything. It's like we get up there and we set up, ready to do the show. And these Angel City, I guess, from what we saw, they really loved. And the roadie goes, here, before you go on, you want to do these? And they had a piano to the side. And we're already amped. We're ready to go. You want to do this? And if we'd have done those fucking coke, we'd probably. Our heads would have exploded. Got a great response. We're actually getting an encore, and they throw the house light. So we've done the show. We're the triumphant gig of bad habit, right? Got all the gear. So we just jump off the stage. We run up to the party with the band, right?
Yeah.
We're up there, and everybody's chicks, booze. We made it. We're gonna do all this, right? Well, last year we did was great security. Rushing down.
Yeah.
Artists coming through, you know, our heads are, you know, we can touch the ground. But by the meantime, who's taking the gear off? And our poor buddy, Arlen, with his arm in the sling that got hit, took all the shit off the stage by himself.
Drums and everything.
Everything.
He had to clear the stage for them.
For them. Give us the look and had every right to do so. I mean, we were just like, what's wrong, man?
That's a lot to do with one person.
The drum and everything.
It was a lot. I mean, thinking about the times, you know, right now he'd probably laugh at it. You know what I mean? Saying, that was
the
I was
time.
pissed at you guys, but, you know.
But it's water under the bridge.
Totally.
Did you get to party with the band then?
Yeah,
We did the whole
Right.
thing with him. That was the whole thing about Arlen. He's down there. We're up there partying before they're going on stage and shit. I mean, their green room's filled with everything.
Right.
You know, so we're partying. We didn't leave till they had to go on stage, and we stayed up there. And then it finally dawned on us, like, where's our gear? So we went downstairs. They're going on. We're going to watch them anyway.
Right.
And then Arlen's down there like, you fucking motherfuckers.
I had to drag all that shit out myself.
No, it load the van and everything.
You're lucky he
Should
didn't.
probably had one of the security guards probably seen it.
Yeah,
Give him a hand, but it doesn't matter.
We're
Right.
gonna be rock stars. Fuck you, you know?
You're lucky he didn't take off.
We didn't take it wasn't a thing for Arlen like coming to our show with us to be the roadie,
Right.
to move all the gear.
Right.
But that's what it turned out to be.
You be our buddy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, buddy.
Did they then put you up like you part of your contract with them in a motel or hotel?
Well, yeah, they put us up. It was at the River Sands. Was it that show or was the other? No, that might have been the other show.
Yeah, that was the pit show. I don't think we did.
No, we just stayed in the van.
That's where we stayed on picnic tables
Yeah,
and shit.
we played
By
the
river.
show. We were rock stars 1 minute. I think Vic was trying to hook up with some chicks to stay with. We didn't
Right.
do that. I think he was lucky enough to ride off, and we had nowhere to go, so we just stayed in the park.
Like right across the laundry mat.
So they basically reneged because you guys didn't show up on time? Is that what?
No, I don't think it's, you know.
Did you make any money? Did they give you
No.
anything?
No.
Not a penny? Just got to party with them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't even care.
Yeah.
No,
By
I
the
get
time
that.
we were done partying.
Did they have food or anything up there
Oh,
too?
yeah,
Oh,
just-
oh, well, that's
I mean,
cool.
Yeah, we did them. Hey, man, 3,500. You were playing because they were on the rise.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like,
Did you stay in any way in contact with them as to maybe do another show down the line, or hey, if you come back to Detroit, hook us up?
anybody probably could answer that as Vic, but most probably.
In a lot of things back then, we could have opened up for a band. We could have like Midwest tour,
Right.
But back then, they were called Stars. I don't know if you're familiar or not. They were on Capitol Records.
The
and all
band
that.
Stars?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what Stars
Okay,
is,
so
yeah.
anyways, they played at Uncle Sam's.
Right.
So we went and watched them and whatever. Victor ended up talking to the tour manager guy.
Right.
We could have went everywhere with them if we had a PA. We didn't have no PA. We go everywhere we're going. They got PAs already there.
Yeah, yeah.
You're mic'd, everything. So the only PA we technically have as a band is what's at rehearsal. Couple bottoms.
Why
and
would they
couple
need you to
mics.
have a PA? That sounds
Well,
weird.
Because they probably got to rent it. So
Yeah.
they're thinking, okay,
Oh,
we'll get a band
yeah,
who
yeah,
has
yeah.
a PA.
right.
No, I get
You know what I
you.
mean? We'll
Well,
give
see,
them 150
Yeah.
and we'll save in 500.
Yeah, yeah, no, I
Yeah,
get
the
you.
PA, let's say if we're like a Mariner band or something, we got all this shit.
Yeah.
Hey, you can tour with us. We're signed. You're not. You could be a quid pro quo type of thing.
Yeah, that would have been tough filling that band with also PA equipment.
Yeah.
You might have had to get in a bus.
Yeah.
I'd be lucky at the microphone.
All right, we'll step into this now. At the time, you didn't record an album. You had your demo. Eventually, down the line, you did. Somebody picked up on that and said, hey, I want to put this out.
Yeah.
And it was put out. How did that come about?
Well, when we were working, we were starting to gain a little attention and whatever. We had finally caught the eye of Gail Parento. She was with Parental Guidance, and she was it Mark Parento, right?
Yeah.
And he was worked with Brass Ring, and she took a liking to the band. They were liking to maybe one of the two of the guys, but that was another story. She liked the band, and she knew of some management in New York that was looking for an act, and she forwarded our name up to this guy. His name was Victor Samoja, and he came in from New York, and we had a showcase for him at the red carpet.
Right.
Yeah, and then the word got out. I mean, we had all the bands coming up there with their press kits. They're all like, they're all forcing it in there, and that's how we hooked up with him. He liked the band well enough where he financed us to do some recording at that not Ace Court. What was it? It was at Ford Road and Beach Daily, the Studio A.
Yeah, Studio A.
Recorded, and then that's also when he hooked us up to go recorded there, and when we recorded in New York.
Did he flip the bill to go out to New York, or did you have to finance it
No, he
yourself?
lived in New York.
Yeah.
We stayed at his place.
He had a place in Gramercy Park.
Oh, man, he must have really liked you guys. Right?
Yeah.
I thought you showed potential at that time.
And so, we had a buzz in the city for about 3 months. This was something that's going to happen, or something that's going to take it to the next level. After that, then we decided, well, we've done about everything we can in Detroit. Time for us to move to Los Angeles.
You were deciding to do that.
Yeah. We had banged around here. Everybody knew we weren't doing anything else.
Right.
We had management, supposedly, that was interested to take us to the next level.
Okay.
So now let's go to LA, where everybody wants to. We were just fortunate that that's what happened then. But then we go to the West Coast. All the promises weren't there, and we were so naive. I mean, where are we going to be staying? We're going to stay in a place that shows us the map. We're going to stay a little south of LA, but it's north of San Diego. And we're so stupid. You look on the map. Yeah, it's like Detroit, Ann Arbor.
Yeah, right?
Real easy. No. Management sets us up. 5-bedroom home in Cardiff by the Sea, California, which is just a little north of La Jolla. And that, this is where you go when you made it. Made the dough where you could walk out on the front porch, and it was about 2 miles from the ocean, but it was on a hill. You could actually watch whales breaching in the Pacific Ocean. And we'd flown all our gear out. We had my mom and my uncle worked for American Airlines, and you could never do this again. My uncle Joe was he worked in air freight for like $1 million. I mean, he was there for kind of ran it type of thing. We drive with all our gear and personal belongings, drive onto the tarmac. You ever see those big silver cargo cars? Yeah. We loaded 4 of them. The tarmac for this plane going we had to go to San Diego, and we're throwing amps and personal shit in here. Like it's nothing. Like we're going up north. We're on the friggin' runway. So we got tickets. We fly out, and we're going. There's the point. Glenn decided he's going to stay in Detroit and follow his art.
So he didn't go with it.
He didn't go with it.
No, just the 3 of us.
Now, how did that go over with management? Did they expect that he would? Did it make a big difference?
Second guitar, the attitude, we'll find a second guitar player. When we got there, it just all fell apart, real quick.
How long were you there, and did you play in any of the clubs or anything when you were there?
No, as Bad Habit, no, we didn't. It was just like we got there and there was nothing waiting for us. The money dried up. I mean, back then it was like $1,500, $2,000 a month, $8,000, and we promised all this shit. We got there, there's absolutely nothing waiting there for us. So we're all in this big gilded cage, nowhere to go, and then you went back, married his wife.
They were paying for all this, right? The flight out there, the place you were staying, you didn't have to flip any of that. Did you have to flip it on the way back, though?
I paid for my mom set it up for American Airlines for us to fly. It didn't cost them anything.
Oh, I thought they were paying this.
No.
They were just going to put you up once you got there.
Yeah, once we got there and get it rolling, and nothing was rolling.
Nothing at all?
There was nothing.
Did you not have any contact with them? Did they
blow
you off on the phone?
No, we were up there.
Yeah, they lived across the street.
So what's going on? What are we doing? There was nothing. I think all it was is because he lived across the street with his in-laws. And that's all it was, to get out there and give him a reason to get a house.
Didn't do anything for you. No. Well, what was the initial idea of going out there?
Get out there playing.
They were going to get you stuff, right?
Yeah, right.
Like I said, you guys did eventually get the record put out on a limited thing. We recorded recording here in New York. Was that the same company that did that, or was it someone else
No,
that put that record out?
No, it was from that. There was that compilation album that was put together about
Right.
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And about the Motor City sounds from what's it,
Right.
79?
Yeah, like 79 to 81.
Okay.
Right.
20 bands, I think they each got a song out.
Well, there was a record label in Naples, Rev Up Record. Rave Up. Was it Rave Up or Rave Up?
Rave Up.
Yeah. And liked it well enough to say, hey, you guys got enough to put out a record? I said, we're going to put out an album. And then that's where the gears started to turn. I think it wasn't Glenn was the point guy.
Glenn was all that.
You know, that was our conduit.
So the record comes out. It comes out on vinyl, which is a really cool thing. Limited pressing. How many were pressed?
Oh, for ours, was it what 500 or 300, something like
I
that?
think it was 500.
Yeah.
Now, what was the
5 or 7.
what was the purpose of that? Was it something that was going to be shopped, or was it
Yeah,
something
well,
that?
This record label, that's what
this,
they did.
this is what they do.
But did they shop it?
Yeah, and the thing is, they do it once and they don't do it anymore. They just throw it out there and then see what happens. It's sold out relatively fast.
Do you know where? I mean, as far as
Europe mostly.
okay,
I mean, we got reviews on it from like Seattle and
Yeah.
and what was it, Chicago? People were reviewing
were
it.
any of them, as far as the vinyl, sold in stores
Yeah.
locally?
You could get
Could
it
you
at
pick it up
Walmart,
here?
You could get it on Amazon.
Not here, no. They wouldn't have them in the stores.
Oh, not here though, but you could.
Online.
Yeah.
They didn't like give us copies and say, go put it at Dearborn Music or go
No,
put
no,
it at
I
Sam
understand
Sham.
that. I
So it wasn't like that.
I understand that they wouldn't give it to you, but I
Yeah.
thought maybe they might have done that. So one run and done. There was never any plan of them saying, "Wow, that sold real quick.
We
Let's
can
do
still-
another run."
Well, the thing is now is doing vinyl. Now it's just you can download the album. That's the way of the world now. I mean, we could spend money and put out some more albums.
At this time, the band is obviously defunct. The guys have moved on. Be no way of saying getting back together.
We're not out of touch with.
That's
no
what I'm
doubt.
saying.
We're doing this, and now it's on digital, so you can get the the vinyl, then you get that.
Getting back to when you're actually, because this was more recent, obviously. What broke the band up? Was there a specific reason, or you guys just lose interest in it? That you were dismayed? What
Shitty
happened?
management.
Yeah, we got out there and it was just that we went to supposedly Los Angeles and there was nothing there for it.
Well, we're going to sum this up by saying some phenomenal punk music. Guys played a lot of places. Sounded like you had a good time.
Yeah, great time.
Sounded like you enjoyed it. It was the time of your life for that.
Totally.
But I want to thank you guys
Thank
for
you,
doing
Jim.
this.
Yeah, thanks a
This
lot.
is really interesting to hear about. Well, anyway, this has been Jimmy Jive with Danny Smith, John Isom, and as I like to say, keep rocking.